Welcome everybody. I'd like to thank you for coming to the third installment of our virtual culinary events here at Quails Gate. We started these last year as part of COVID-19, and Adam and I have been working together on the format here. We're taking advice from you to improve and make each of these virtual cooking demonstrations a little bit better and a little bit more insightful. But with it now being February and Valentine's Day right around the corner, we're doing the event this afternoon with Cook with Your Sweetheart. So I would like to first off thank all our club members for coming to this event, all the support that we've got. I know that by this time we were hoping that we'd be seeing everybody face to face, but here we are still in a world of lockdowns. The club shipment is coming out to you shortly, the spring shipment. We've got some exciting new features this year with a fully customizable platform that Robin and her team are delivering for members that want to mix it up a little bit. We've got some exciting new wines. Today, obviously, we're going to go through our BMV Riesling, the Merlot, and the Fortified Vintage Fauche, which is dedicated to our grandfather. We're also going to tell you about some exciting library releases that we have. Many of you may not know, but 2020, great year. Unfortunately, very limited amounts of grapes came in, and so we're a little pushed this year on our inventory. So Robin and her team are going to be jumping into the library and pulling out some wines. A lot of them are going to be on a first come, first served basis. So we really want to let you know that we'll do our best to try and get you all those wines you're looking for, but sometimes there's only just so many in the library. So today, I would like to make a special announcement. So for many of you, you've known Adam Mukasa as our executive sous chef here. There's been some changes at Old Vines. Roger Sleeman, who's the culinary director now, has appointed Adam as the executive chef for Old Vines restaurant. So Adam is taking over as the start of the year in charge of Old Vines and the menu. So many of these dishes may make their way onto the menu, but I don't think I need to give too much of an introduction to the man who has been doing these events with me. Adam's got a great touch. He's an amazing chef, and today we're going to go through three dishes? Three dishes that we're looking forward to. So I will turn it over to Adam, and congratulations on your promotion. Thanks for all your hard work, and we're really excited about what we're going to do today for Cook with Your Sweetheart.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Tony said, we're going to be doing three dishes for this episode. We're going to start with a kind of a canapé style with the oysters and an appetizer of clam spaghettini, and then we're going to move on to a beautiful ribeye, a ribeye for two, which will be great. Okay, we're going to work on opening the oyster. So a pretty simple process. I'm right-handed, so I'm having the shucker in my right hand, and I'm holding the oyster steady with my left hand. I'm using a tea towel to hold it down, and my left hand is going to keep the oyster firmly pressed. What we're going to do with the shucker, there's a small opening in the back of the oyster, and we're just going to get our shucker, wiggle it into there, and we're going to pop it. So firmly holding the oyster down, the shucker goes in, just so it holds. And you don't have to be too aggressive with this hand. It's not really that hard, so you shouldn't have to go too hard. Once it's slightly in, you twist and just pop that shell. So you can see the shell's being popped. And so at this point, we've half opened the oyster. Now, every oyster is held on by a muscle on the top right of the oyster. So if you're looking at it from this way, the top right here, there's a muscle. So we're going to bring the blade around to the right, and then we're going to cut through that muscle. And that removes the top. So now we have an oyster. And then we're going to do the same thing underneath that muscle. So we have it, the oyster is now free. Any shell around the edge you can just remove. Turn the oyster. Now that's one oyster ready to go. If you give it a smell, it shouldn't smell like anything. That means you've got a nice fresh oyster. So we're going to go ahead and open these oysters. So the recipe is for 6. If you want more, of course, buy more.
And Adam, maybe just explain a little bit about Oceanwise and the program.
Absolutely. So yeah, all these oysters are Oceanwise, and everything in the restaurant we're 100% Oceanwise, and that's it's just ensuring that we're having a level of consistency and making sure we're not killing our oceans. Everything has been done and cultivated in the correct way, and sustainability focused. So yes, these are 100% Oceanwise. Thank you for that. We're going to serve these oysters with a mignonette, a classic dressing, and it's a very simple dressing. It contains vinegar. My personal preference for this is red wine vinegar, and raw shallots, and black pepper. And that's all there is to it. So we're going to put some shallots in our bowl. We're just going to cover those with vinegar. And then we're going to season with black pepper. Now we want to be able to taste the black pepper, but we don't want to overdo the black pepper. We don't want to kill too. We don't want to make it too spicy, and it will affect the Riesling with that. So we're looking for a consistency kind of like this. So it's a loose, almost like a vinaigrette, salad dressing vinaigrette. Into a serving bowl. And so add the mignonette on, and you have a perfect canapé oysters with a red wine mignonette.
Looks amazing. And the nice thing about the oysters is you can get that all ready and prepped, and while you're getting the other dishes, it buys you a little bit of time, and it also gives you that great opportunity with your sweetheart to pour a glass of wine and have a little bit of a conversation before you get into the cooking part of the evening. So this is paired with the BMV Riesling, which is a wine that's got a little bit of acidity, which can work quite well with the oysters. As we get ready to start the next dish with Adam, just a couple things. If you haven't shucked oysters before, these things are handy to have, and most importantly is having a good quality shucker. Both of those are available in the wine shop here at Quails Gate. The next course is going to be paired with the BMV Riesling, so you don't have to worry about switching wines. So turn it over to Adam for the next course.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, so we're going to work onto the clams. So I have all my ingredients here ready to go. Ideally, you have these pre-prepared as per the recipe. So the pasta's cooked, so just follow the recipe or follow the instructions on the pasta that you have at home. So it's just been cooked and then cooled, and then I've just drizzled it with some olive oil, just that way that the pasta is loose. If you don't put the olive oil, it's just going to stick together as one clump, and that's not so nice. We want it to be nice and loose. So we have everything ready to go. So we're going to start off. I have a beautiful non-stick pan here. A touch of olive oil, and in with the shallots and garlic. And so we're going to have them on a medium heat, and we're just going to cook those until they're translucent. So just slowly cooking at this point. And you're going to get some beautiful aromas. The garlic's really going to come out. The shallots are going to come out. These shallots and the garlic, they've been cut nice and fine. Now, in the recipe, I said fine, and also for the oysters, I said extra fine. You don't have to be quite so specific with the clams as you are with the oysters, just because you don't want those big chunks with the oysters. But with the clams here, it's still a fine dice. It's nice for the dish to finish. So you can see here, we're getting some nice cooking on these, and they're just turning translucent now. So we're going to go in with the zest of our lemon, the clams. Now the clams, again, some beautiful Oceanwise clams. They've been cleaned and purged. Now, purging it means that you've cleaned the clam already in water. Put it in a sink or a bowl, or just submerge them in water. Add a little bit of sea salt and leave them to relax. And what they're going to do is you're going to slowly see some bubbles are coming. As the clams relax, they're gonna clean themselves out naturally, and they're gonna spit out any sand or soot or anything that they have taken in during the process of cultivating. And so you want them as clean as possible. If you eat a clam dish and you get a gritty taste, what it means is the sand is actually in the clam as the chef's cooked it. So ideally you clean them first, purge them, and then we cook with them.
Adam, how long do you purge them for?
These ones were actually particularly dirty. I purged them for 20 minutes, and then I did it again with fresh water. So because the water was still coming out and they were still bubbling and spitting out that sand. So I actually did it twice with these ones.
So you wait until the bubbling stops?
Wait until the bubbling stops, and then they calm down, and you'll see in the bottom of the pan or the bowl or whatever you're using, you'll see that sand, and obviously you want to see that coming out, and hopefully you've got it all out. You can't guarantee you've got everything out, but as long as you've done it at least once in 20 minutes, it's going to be pretty good.
Okay, great.
So we're in. So I'm going to add some white wine. I'm using the BMV. You can use any dry white wine for this. The BMV works great as a pairing, but it can be any dry white. At this point, we're just going to turn the heat up, and we're going to let those clams come to a boil, and they're going to start cooking. And as they cook, they're going to start opening, and that's when we know they have been cooked. So we're going to let those do their thing. The pasta, so I have just boiling water here. Pasta's going to go in, and all we're doing at this point is heating it up because it's cold from the fridge. We're just heating it up.
So you've already prepped the pasta before?
Yeah, exactly. So it's already cooked. It's just cooked and cold. So now we're just heating it up. So that's all that's happening here. Clams are cooking. And so this is also going to be the sauce for the dish. So as you see, it's slowly reducing. Just going to add some butter. And now it's just a time of patience, just to let those clams, and you can see now that these clams are starting to open. So it really is that quick. And you saw that one just open. So heat is at its highest point now. Once the clams have opened, they're cooked. So you can see now almost all of them are opened. My pasta is nice and hot. Just going to drain that straight in. Now just something to note, if you're doing this, if you have a very wide pan like I do, if your liquid has reduced and your clams haven't opened yet, use some of the pasta water, just spoon at a time, just to enable you to let those clams keep cooking so the pan doesn't go dry. So now you can see all my clams are opening up. If you have a stubborn clam that absolutely will not open and is firm shut, just remove that one from the dish and don't use it. So here, all my clams are open, so I'm going to turn the heat right down. I'm getting happy with that sauce now. I'm going in with the pine nuts. These pine nuts have been toasted and salted, so they've just been laid on a flat sheet in a hot oven at 400 for about 3 to 4 minutes. Please set a timer. These will burn very easily until they're golden brown, as you can see, and they're ready to go. They go in. Some Parmesan goes in, and then fresh parsley. And we're getting very close. Just going to give it a taste for salt. Use just a little. The clams are naturally salty, so you won't have to add much. You shouldn't. And we're ready. So ready to move on to plating. Move this.
Smells amazing.
And those creamy notes, the creamy notes from obviously the butter and the sauce, the fat from the pine nuts, and should really work well and balance well with that Riesling. So pasta in, clams around, and then you can use all that sauce and glaze, extra healthy butter. And I just have a few picked parsley as garnish. And there we have clam spaghettini.
Fantastic. Looks amazing. But the exciting part of that dish is it's great to watch. So it gives that entertainment for the for your spouse. Whichever one of you is cooking, you've got something to watch while the other one's busy.
Absolutely, and while you're enjoying the oyster too, this can be done at the same time as it's and ideally you're both in the kitchen at the same time. And as you said, it's a fun, quick little dish to do.
Great.
So,
Looks awesome.
Hopefully you enjoy.
So now moving on to the main course here, it's a great ribeye that's going to be featured for the next part of Cook with Your Sweetheart. Adam's got a great set of ingredients here with some kale, spinach, some glazed onions, roasted potatoes, more of a traditional dish. The ribeye is going to be paired with the 2018 Merlot. This wine's tasting amazing right now. But a lot of people ask me about the ageability of our wines, and Merlot is one of those wines that careful cellaring will reward you with a more developed and rich wine. Now, every year is different, but one of the things that our club team has put together are two verticals. One is going to be a 2015, 16, and 17 Merlot vertical, 3-pack. And then we're doing a 6-pack, which is very rare to find, but from 2012 to 2017 of our Merlots. So what that allows you to do is an opportunity to go back, try your vintages, see what the weather was like in each of those years and how that wine developed. But there's some great wines there, very exciting for those that are looking for age-worthy wines for their cellar. So look forward to the next course. Adam, thank you, and take it away. Main event.
Okay guys, welcome back. Hopefully you've enjoyed the spaghettini. You've got the kitchen nice and clean, ready to go. So we're going to be enjoying a beautiful ribeye here. We're lucky enough here, we work with Two Rivers. This is an all-natural organic ribeye. This is a 400-gram piece, so perfect for sharing. Of course, if you have a bigger appetite, go ahead and or order a bigger piece or a smaller piece if you prefer. But this is a perfect, beautiful 30-day dry-aged ribeye of beef. So I'm very lucky.
Cut very thin, I might add.
Yes. Yeah, so it's a beautiful cut. So yeah, I'm very lucky to be cooking with this. So that's obviously the star of the show. It's going to come along with some roasted potatoes, glazed onions, and then some nice fresh greens. Having said this is the star of the show, if you're able to execute the onions as I do and in the recipe, the onions are going to, in my personal opinion, they're going to equal this ribeye if done properly. So these are the first two things that we're going to concentrate on first, is the onions and the beef. We have baby onions. I'm lucky enough to be working with our local farmers. We have some baby red onions, I have some cipollinis, and I have some shallots, all from local, some Farmer Jeff, just in Kelowna, from Vernon, from Greencroft, and then Medley Organics in Summerland. Some great farming work happening, some beautiful, sweet, the onions are so good right now. So we're able to work with our local farmers. If you're only able to get one variety, that's fine. If you are able to get a really great mix, it's just important to, when we're cutting and prepping the onions, to make sure that they're the same thickness. So that's important, to make sure they're the same thickness. You can see that. We don't want to be cooking a tiny thin onion with a big fat one, because this guy will be overcooked and this guy will be raw, or vice versa, which way we've done it. So we want all of them to be a similar thickness. So I've got my pan nice and hot. So a little bit of olive oil in the pan, a little bit of salt to season it, and onions are going to go straight in. And we're going to give them a hard sear until they're completely roasted and golden brown on the flesh. And you'll notice there that there's a variety of onions, and they're all about the same thickness. So while they're roasting away, the second thing that's going to take us time is the ribeye. As you've seen, Tony mentioned, we've got a nice thick cut steak. So we're going to season that, and we're going to season it generously. on all sides. We are going to lose a lot of that salt in the cooking process, and we're going to hit it with some pepper as well.
I guess it's worth mentioning as we've gone through these virtual cooking classes, just the way in which salt enhances the flavor of the food, and that the amount of salt that you're using, which might be a little shocking to some, burns off as you cook through and enhances the flavor, so you don't need to be so worried about it.
Absolutely, yeah. So it needs to be present, and it definitely helps with the pairing. But obviously, if you have any health issues, you can of course tame it down a little bit. But again, this is most of the salt that's going to go on the dish, so we're not going to add too much. So steak's going to go in. So we're going to be searing our steak on every side till it's golden brown. We need to check our onions, and we can see here we've got some nice color happening, which is exactly what I want. So keep turning those. And this is also going to be the base of a sauce that's going to come later in the dish. We really want that golden brown, rich color and flavor. Turn the steak. So with these onions, I'm just going to add a small amount of the Merlot. Being careful not to set fire to your alcohol. And then we're going to add chicken stock to cover the onions. Now we want the chicken stock to come up to the top of the onion, and at this point we can just turn that heat down to a gentle, so it's simmering, and then we keep turning our steak. And the onions are going to be cooking away nicely.
Now, what's the advantage of pan searing the steak as opposed to doing a grill or using your barbecue?
So a grill, each can have a different flavors. A grill would be great in this instance. Again, it would be great with the Merlot. A nice cast iron pan searing, you're going to get that real rich, even caramelization on the steak, which again is going to be really nice with it. Both work great, but I'm going to add butter to this, which a pan allows you to do that, as opposed with a grill you wouldn't be able to do that. So that's on a much lower heat now. So we're just going to keep turning the steak until and you see we've got nice golden brown all the way around. And so our heat is just down a bit. Our onions are cooking nicely. It's still going to be completely raw in the center at this stage with this thick cut. I'm looking to get that complete golden brown with oil, and then now we're going to add some butter. And I have garlic cloves here, just raw garlic cloves. They're just going to be squashed with the back of a knife. They can go straight in. I'm going to use 2 for this steak, and then a sprig of rosemary straight in. And then the heat is very low now, much lower heat. And I'm just going to be basting the steak with that butter. And the aromas right now are really, really good. Super yummy. So I'm just going to pull that off to one side just to rest. It can rest hot at the moment. And so because I have such a thick steak here, this is going to rest for a much longer time, so that's why I've done it this way. If you have thinner steaks, then perhaps you'd want to look at these potatoes potentially before cooking the beef. So we're just going to go into a pan again, nice hot pan. We have some nice fingerling potatoes. They've already been blanched in water, so they're tender and they're cooked, and then we cut in half into nice bite-sized pieces. So they're just going to go face down into the pan, flesh side down. just going to develop some nice caramelizing colors and flavors on the flesh of the potatoes. We are going to season these just lightly. And once we have that temperature in the pan, you can hear that sizzling. Again, we're going to go in with some butter. So I'm going to add some thyme to these potatoes, some beautiful fresh thyme I picked from the garden at OVR this morning. That's going to go in. And so now we're just roasting these potatoes to get a nice golden brown. Because they're already cooked, we're not worrying about cooking them. They are ready to go. We're just looking for color right now and some great flavor. So I can see that my stock here, it's reducing down, and just by touching the onions, they're still quite firm. So I'm going to add some more chicken stock. And then turn the heat back up a little bit, just let that go. Now it's going to depend on your pan and the onions that you have, just depending on how wide the pan is and how much the stock reduces. So you're just going to have to keep touching them, and you want them to be nice and soft. So they're coming along nicely. Potatoes, coming a great color now. And so I have preheated my oven, and it's not a crazy temperature, it's just at 250. So once I've achieved my potatoes to this, they're pretty much ready to go. I'm just going to pop those in the oven. Again, the oven's not very hot, it's just keeping them warm, so that now you can focus yourself on your steak and on your onions. So a lot of chefs are going to tell you very varying different ways of how to cook steak. As I said, I like to get that color nice and golden brown on all sides, and then I'm basting with the butter. And then you can, if you touch the hand, the forearm of your hand, and just below where your thumb is, if you're able to touch and feel there, you want it to feel about the same, and that's going to be medium rare, which is how I personally like my steak. I know Tony likes his steak medium rare too, so I'm going to be cooking this one to a nice medium rare. And the other thing to mention and to note, if you're gonna be cooking a thicker cut steak in the pan like this, you're still going to get from the outside of the steak to the center of the steak. It's not going to be medium rare right the way through. The outside's going to be a bit more cooked, and the inside's going to be a bit rarer. So if you are sharing something with someone, a steak with your sweetheart, and if you have a different preference, you can always share those out. So a little bit, some are a bit more cooked and some are a bit rarer. So this is coming along now. We're rare at the moment. So I'm going to keep basting the butter, and you can really smell that garlic and rosemary. It's just smelling fantastic right now. And if you have a slightly thinner steak, likely your steak will be ready at this point, and so we'd be getting it off and resting. So just because it's such a thick steak right now, it's just going to take a little bit more time. And as we cook, so we're just going to mention this caramelization of the beef. The butter is going to turn from regular to brown. We're browning our butter right now, so we have that beurre noisette. We have the really rich, nutty dairy elements going on. The more we're cooking it, the richer this is getting, which is just going to tie in so well with the merlot, the spicy flavors, and there's going to be a match made in heaven. This garlic, the rosemary, the earthy flavors, again, are going to match with the earthy notes in the merlot. So everything right now we're building friends with the merlot, 100%. Our onions are now nice and soft, and we can see that we have a glaze in the pan. So this sauce is going to be what we're going to use to sauce the plate. So I'm just going to add a little bit. And so this is why the recipe, you do have a liter of chicken stock. That's just so you can adjust at this point. If your onions are bigger, you're going to need a bit more chicken stock. If your onions are nice and thin, then you're going to use less. And then at this point, we're just looking to make gravy consistency. So if it's the consistency of gravy, then you're winning. And we can see those onions, that rich sauce, which again has the merlot in it. Really tasty. So with this ribeye now, we are cooked. So I'm just going to take that off onto the chopping board, and it's going to rest. Keep this pan, keep the heat on low. I'm just going to remove the rosemary and the garlic. And then later we're going to use this butter and the beef fat, and we're going to cook our greens in there just as an extra element. Again, just adjusting our sauce, a little bit more chicken stock. And at this point, we're really just letting the steak rest.
And how long do you have to let it rest? I guess it varies depending on the thickness too,
Exactly.
right?
A steak this thick, I'd like to rest for about 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
If it's a thinner steak, 2 to 5 minutes if it's a regular kind of thinner one.
Right.
But for something like this, yeah, 5-minute rest is nice, just to let everything cool down, so that when you cut into it, it gets nice and tender.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So we're just going to look to move into plating. So I have a couple plates. My sauce is almost ready there, so I'm going to turn that off. So with these onions, the sauce is just looking perfect right now. A homemade chicken stock is ideal for this. It's the perfect way to go. And the better the chicken stock, the better the sauce is going to be. It's going to be a sauce that people will think that you've been slaving over for hours, but in actual fact, as you've seen, it's pretty quick. We are selling house-made chicken stock in the market if you're local, so pop on down and grab a liter, and you should be able to make some great glazed onions. If you're not, make some chicken stock at home. If you have a leftover roast chicken, chuck the carcass in a pot, some vegetables, let it slowly simmer for 3 to 4 hours, and you have some perfect chicken stock. So this steak's nice and rested now, so I'm just going to turn this pan back on. So again, this just has the beef fat from when we've been cooking it, and some butter from that. So that's the same, that hasn't changed. Our potatoes are nice and ready out the oven. So this pan, smoking hot again. So I have a mix here. I have some spinach, I have Cavolo Nero, and just some regular green frilly kale. So that's going to go straight in.
Sound effects and everything.
There you go. And you're not cooking them very long. We're very quick. Turning the heat straight off and giving them a toss. And they're out. That's all it takes.
Wow, it's quick.
And so you can organize some potatoes.
It smells amazing.
Those roasted herbs.
So you're still getting herbs out of the garden at this time of year?
I am, and
Great.
actually, even right the way through the winter, anytime we get snow, the thyme actually seems to enjoy the snow. You just dig the snow away, and the thyme's underneath.
Okay.
Bright, fresh, green, and it's perfect. So into our ribeye, and it should be nicely cooked. So beautiful medium rare, which I hope Tony likes. That's on top. Some greens.
I can see the Merlot working really well with this. It's got the good structure and backbone that's going to carry it to be in balance with the steak and with the potatoes.
And obviously this is a big, rich, earthy, wintry dish.
Yeah.
Perfect for this time of year. And then honestly, I really hope you're able to follow this, and these onions, I hope, will blow you away. Make sure you get that sauce. And there we have steak for two, main course, to go along with the Merlot.
So an awesome dish that Adam's created here, and again, lots more knowledge that we're learning about how to cook things and properly season and get these things done. Now keep in mind, this isn't part of a professional crew that's doing cooking classes every day. We're learning as we go along here and adapting with the COVID environment. So we're loving your feedback. We want to put a big thank you out to SW Audio, who's been working with us. They added in a few extra features this time with a camera over the stove. And we're hoping we're enhancing the experience for you and giving you a great opportunity to learn about local wine, local food, and local culinary talent. So our next step is we're going to head in with our crew into the dining room, and we're going to sit down and have a chance to try some of these dishes. We're going to be available for a Q&A with Adam and myself and other members of our team. As well, there is dessert, which is included in your package with your Sweetheart Trio, and that's going to be paired with the fortified vintage Foch, and we'll tell you a little bit about that when we get to that part of the evening. So hopefully you've enjoyed it so far. We appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to heading next door. Day with Adam here in the afternoon, and have a chance to learn about cooking with your sweetheart. Adam, I'll turn it over to you now that we're into the final stage, which I really enjoy the best because that's when I just get to sit back and do the pairing, make sure that everything's great, and let you do all the talking.
Yeah, so hopefully you've been able to keep up with the cooking today. With this segment, we are able to rewind, so you're able to go back if you did have any issues. But to start off, the spaghettini, so you should have those really nice toasted pine nuts, the clams, lots of parsley, parmesan, and then the fresh lemon zest. And yeah, they should be a really nice match there for the BMV, just to kick off. And then, of course, I really hope those steaks are nicely rested for you. So here we're lucky enough, we have this beautiful ribeye, which has been cooked nice and rare. The local onions, a medley of onions I had here which I got from the farmer. Fingerling potatoes and the kale. So,
Looks great, Adam. Thank you. And we were talking earlier about the price of pine nuts, and should we be worried about the shock we're going to get when we go to the grocery store?
There will be some sort of shock, yeah, when it comes to buying those, but I think the flavor that they go a long way, so I think it's worth every penny. Yeah, the richness and the lots of dairy should be going really well with that BMV.
We've got really good balance there. There's a hint of acidity in the dish that comes through. The wine works well with it. The fruit. One of the things that we talk about in the wine business that's really interesting is there's sweetness and there's fruit flavor. And they can't be confused because sweetness is simply just residual sugar that's in the wine. And we at Quails Gate, we talk about fruit forward wines. So they're fruity but not sweet. And that balances out really nicely with this dish.
I have a question. Do you think that the QG dry Riesling would also work with this pairing, or is it more suited just to the BMV?
So a question is asking if we can pair with the Quails Gate dry Riesling, not just the BMV, and the answer is yes. That Riesling will be a great pairing. This dish is ideally for the BMV, but if you have just the regular Quails Gate Riesling, that'll be just fine. It'll still be a really nice pairing.
And then the next question we have is, when did you add the lemon zest to the clams?
Question asking when I added the lemon zest, and I did that after I was roasting my shallots, and I had my pasta in. It went in. It can go in if you have forgotten. If that's the case, you can definitely add it last second. That's no problem.
Yeah, the dry Riesling and the BMV, the real difference is the BMV is the first cuts of the pressings from a specific block, and it just has a little bit more intensity and a little more age-worthy wine. The dry Riesling, again, great food-friendly wine. Both will work well with this dish, but obviously the BMV is one of those ones that you can put aside, you can let age for a number of years and bring out, and you'll get rewarded for that aging of the wine. So should we move on to the entree?
Yeah.
So, I mean, a great pairing on that first one there, Adam. Thanks so much. Just maybe recap on the main
Absolutely.
dish here.
So, a ribeye, a beautiful ribeye. You're able to change cuts if that's your personal preference, but here at Quailsgate we have a really nice dry-aged ribeye. It's always on the menu at Old Vines. It's been served with the onions that we've roasted and glazed in chicken stock. So you should have that really rich glazed sauce or gravy on the bottom of the plate, and that should really bring everything through together. We deglaze the pan with the Merlot itself, so that's really going to help with the pairing process. So you should get really nice sweetness from the onions, that really rich depth of flavor from the beef. Potatoes should be just delicious, roasted in butter. We finish with the fresh herbs. You should get a really nice aroma of the thyme, the rosemary that was toasting in the butter as we were cooking, and then just some fresh, healthy kale.
So what about this Merlot allows it to age nicely? Do all Merlots age well?
Do you want to take that? There's a question on aging Merlot.
So the 2018 has lots of aging potential. It was a great year. We have at Quailsgate, most of the Merlot that we're doing for this wine is actually coming from the upper block of the property. So if you've been here, it's just at the top, field 6 is what we call it. And we're getting really ripe intensity out of the fruit, and ageability, 6 to 8 years is kind of going to be that optimal window. Merlot is one of those wines, though, that you can enjoy early, and 2018 Merlot with this dish is looking great.
Beautiful.
And I should be, really paying attention here, because on Sunday I should be doing this dish for my sweetheart.
You should be, yeah.
Given that her birthday is on Monday.
Well, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and that Merlot really should, those roasted notes as well, should be something else that really, really helps pairing with this.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed by how long you cook the onions and getting those down to that kind of desired state. So it's an amazing dish, lots of flavor. So.
Would a cab sauv also pair well with this dish?
So we have a question asking if you can pair the same dish with the Cab Sauv, Cabernet Sauvignon, and absolutely, 100% yes. That would be a very good alternative for this dish. More questions?
Now, Adam and I can give everybody a little bit of a sneak peek here, a little plug for something that's coming. So our winemaking team has been working very diligently on a new release, and for those of you that like the Bordeaux blends, there will be a new Bordeaux blend coming out this summer, which we're really excited about. So keep an eye out for that. And we know that there's been a lot of demand for the Connemara. Unfortunately, the Connemara is in very limited supply again this year, and it would also pair exceptionally well with this. But
absolutely.
As we like to say, that's for those real special occasions when you're entertaining friends that you haven't seen for a long time, or for big events in your family. Pull out the Connemara and enjoy that. It's kind of more of a once or twice a year event, unless you happen to be one of those ones that like the very best at all the occasions. So.
Yeah, any of the big reds really we do at Quailsgate would work very well with this. Yeah, the Syrah would be great as well. Another great one. Yeah, really nice one. Wrapping up, no more questions? All right, perfect. So we'll just working on to the last. So everyone should have received a package with your wine of 4 chocolates. A really nice package here. And they are to go with the final wine with the fortified Fauche.
2017.
2017, correct.
Do you recommend to serve the fortified vintage Fauche chilled?
No.
A question, we've been asked if we could recommend serving the Fauche chilled.
Room temperature is what I typically do. I mean, you can pull it out of the cellar, and it could be around, a little bit below room temperature, but it doesn't have to be chilled. I think what you'll find is if you do chill it, you'll lose the aromatics, and you'll probably enjoy it more when it's a little bit warmer. So kind of at 20 C or 65 Fahrenheit, maybe a little bit warmer.
Yeah, room temperature, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the chocolate with the fauche,
Okay.
that beautiful sweetness from the chocolate.
And tell us about the chocolates. What's unique about these little guys?
So they should be, they're preserved farmers. Sorry, they're not preserved farmers. Preserved strawberries from the farm. So there's some strawberry inside, chocolate on the outside, made by a pastry team in the restaurant, and they're just being packaged up and sent out. So it should be a nice tangy, sweet compliment, a nice easy way to finish the meal. Sit back and relax and enjoy some vintified fudge.
Yeah, very good. The chocolate strawberries combine quite nicely with that. I think the thing that we're really trying to bring out at these events is wine and food pairing is all about balance. You never want the food to overpower the wine. You don't want the wine to overpower the food. And if you read a lot of the older books, they'll talk about you can't have red wine with fish. You can't. There's a lot of rules around what you enjoy, but we like to employ a little bit more of a modern look on that, and that's really about the balance. So Pinot Noir and salmon actually does really well because there's a really good balance there. And tonight with the beef and the Merlot. Merlot is a little bit softer. Somebody asked the question about the Cab. Cab is a little bit bigger. Both of those wines would do exceptionally well with this dish. You've got so much flavor, but they balance each other off. And then the Spaghettini and the Riesling really work well there because you've kind of got the forward flavor from the pasta and the clams with the fresh fruit from the Riesling. So a really good balance. So I really like what you've done here.
And then also, I think, especially for you cooking at home, like you're cooking for yourself, you're cooking for your loved one. If you like it, then that's the right answer. That means it's good. If it's working well for you at home, then that's fine. If you're doing something a little bit different, and if you tweaked a recipe, if you particularly if you don't like clams, someone asked about mussels, absolutely you can change that up. And definitely, I'd recommend doing that. Play with a recipe and change things. And if there's something you really enjoy, add a bit more. It's fine. And then you're going to learn and enjoy and potentially find a different pairing along the way, which is always it's always fun, I think. Yeah.
So again, we really appreciate your time coming out. We know Valentine's Day is coming up this weekend, and it's going to be a great opportunity in a very difficult time, as many people are restricted from getting out and doing things. But what we're trying to do is come up with events that are interesting and exciting that you can enjoy, that you can learn, have an experience with, and we welcome your feedback on the culinary events that we're doing here. We have another event coming up for Easter. It's going to be Easter brunch, so we're really excited about that one. That's going to be great because that means that we're moving into the springtime and we'll get past this little Arctic vortex that's dropped in on us. But again, please let us know, let the team here know what we can do to help make these events more interesting, more exciting. And if you've got questions, by all means, please let us know. The link for this event will be sent out, and so other people that have not been able to do the cooking tonight, or maybe just watch tonight and want to do the cooking later, will have the opportunity to go back and look at what Adam's done. And again, if you have questions that don't seem to be answered from the video, please, by all means, reach out to us and we'd be more than happy to help you.
Well, yeah, thank you so much. Good night.
Right. Thanks a lot. Happy Valentine's Day, and we'll look forward to seeing you at Easter. Good job there, sir.
Cheers.
Cheers.